When I first started lifting, gyms were very much a community. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. This is something that I've talked about in the past, and other people chime in and say, "Man, I wish it was like that today." I get that sometimes, and it's just such a different world. And I think a lot of it is due to people being less social due to the internet. Due to maybe the commercial nature of gyms, people having to deal with creeps and everything else. I guess just due to the size of the gym population, there's so many more gyms now. And for me, I remember my first gym. First real gym I joined, and I trained there for over a year. I was at that first gym over a year. And this was after first getting into shape, running, doing some stuff at home, and learning to work out, and then getting into a gym. And at that gym, it was an old school iron gym, and we didn't have the creep factor because the main manager was a woman, and actually main manager was a woman there, and so we didn't really have those same issues. It didn't seem like that was the same problem that it is today. And again, this was quite a large gym, but it was still an old school iron type gym, but it had hundreds of members. And, there would be, during peak hours, as many as 30 or 40 people there. But there was community. Like you had your morning crowds. I used to come in a lot of times in the morning, and there would be people who did different stuff. There were a few powerlifters who trained there. There were people, who had done football previously. At least one guy who trained there was a high school football coach. Was a very serious national level arm wrestler, and his wife was the morning manager. So, you had all these different personalities, and of course we had some bodybuilders and stuff there, but everyone was it was almost still coming out of that Arnold era, that Mike Menzer type era. You still saw a lot of that mindset. These are the people that people looked up to. They talked about stuff like Vince Gironda still at Arnold's training. And these were normal topics. Hey, normal topics. But everyone kind of got to know each other there. And there were all your regulars, and everyone knew each other. People worked in with each other all the time. And that's one of the things I had said. You were expected to be big and strong because you would come into a gym like that, and the guys would be having a bench press contest. They just drag you over. Let's see what you can bench. Be having a chin-up contest. You can do the most chin-ups. People would teach you how to squat. If you're over there trying to train, people would be like, "Oh no, you got to squat. You have to squat." Okay, so we didn't have even the no leg memes really at a place like that because most of the people squatted. And if I recall, that gym had about 8 squat racks. It had 3 leg presses. Okay, plus it had all the machines, barbells, but and it had hundreds of 45-pound plates. There were probably 4 or 5 normal to the regular bench stations, an incline, decline, the seated overhead press, with a barbell. All the normal machines. I think there were some Cybex and hammer strength machines. And it had a walking track around the weight room. So it was on green turf, a lot of the weight room, and then it had a little walking track. And there was rubberized a lot of it too. It's a big round track all the way around it. It was where I learned to train. But you come into a place like that, and it was community. And you just worked in, and people jumped over and had you join them for their workouts. This was normal. It was normal. And like I said, they would literally do stuff like you'd come in and there'd be random bench press contests going on, random chin-up contests going on. Hey, let's compete with each other on stuff. And you just get pulled into it, But again, it was all friendly. It was all good. And I've never heard of that happening anymore. Those are the things that we had in that sort of community. And then there were personalities, and there were those conflicts of personalities at times. But I also never saw a fist fight or an altercation or anything like that happen ever at that gym. But again, there were disagreements and people who didn't like each other, but it never became bad. It never became ugly. And I remember some of those disagreements and what they were over, personalities and lifestyles, conflicts. But at the end of the day, everyone was a lifter. And it was never the case of when you were at places like that, everyone was encouraging each other, and there wasn't really a negative vibe. Like, people didn't make fun of each other. They didn't call each other weak. Like, even if you were stronger than someone else, there was a little bragging about it, but it was never insulting. No one ever called another person fat there that I recall. Never called another person weak. These things just didn't happen. And if you came in and trained, I mean, people just kind of treated you like family once you were there regularly. You were just accepted. And it didn't matter whether there was a really obese person trying to get into shape or a competitive athlete. Again, that sense of community. Now, the next gym I went to, it wasn't quite as strong, but it was still there. I trained at a Gold's after that for a couple years. And, the Gold's was not quite to that extent, but it was still a serious iron gym. It was probably slightly more bodybuilder oriented, a little less athletes, a little more physique people there. But it was the same thing. People still kind of had their little cliques. You got along with everyone. People would ask to work in with you. People would offer to spot you. You could ask anyone to spot you. You'd get spotters. People helped. Okay? People helped each other. They gave advice to each other. People would be talking, while they're sitting there doing cardio or lifting, and people would be talking about their training, nutrition. People would be giving tips to each other. Just like you kind of see online where, the YouTubers are here giving tips and influencers are giving tips. People just gave each other tips. And did people always know as much as today due to the science and all the exchange of information? No, they didn't. But there was still that exchange of information. People with good physiques who were really strong talked to others, and people listened, and they gave advice, and they were usually happy to give advice. And there was still always a little bit of friendly competition. Hey, let's see who can bench more. Let's have these contests. And it was normal. It was normal. And again, still that sense of community. Today we've lost that. And I don't know how people get that back. The only way people get that back is if they just kind of create a sense of community again at gyms. And they quit allowing everyone to be so detached. But I think with a lot of that, if anyone really wants that back, they're just going to have to do it at the individual level at their gyms when they become regulars. But the people who are pushing that are going to be the ones who have to be there all the time. But we did see that there were people who kind of just almost lived at the gym. They were there 3-4 hours every day. You did see that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.